Now, how do you follow that up? I'm just trying to lay this out as a comparison. How do you top that? Well, I guess after you're done talking to Harvey Weinstein, you go talk to Milo Yiannopoulos, the former gay man converted to straight, who's now Catholic, I think, and is like a trad husband, I suppose. And he lost his entire career is burgeoning, forward, gay positive Republican thing. Yes, he's straight now, allegedly. For real. He apparently, the reason he got kind of kicked to the curb was because he said that every young gay man, young gay boy needs an older gay man to be his kind of guide through the gay world. And you can see why that would be an issue. Not just amongst the general populace, but even more so amongst the people who've been screaming about a gay agenda for years and who happen to think that all gay people are pedophiles, which was the group he was voting for and with. All right. So, this is, what does Israel have on Donald Trump? Nothing the Russians don't have. Okay, and then whatever, I don't care. Okay, so is this what it feels like when my video is starting?
Office, and it's time to talk about it. And at the end, you do kind of want to go back to the beginning. Welcome back to Candace. And but I want us to
Sorry.
No, he didn't. He was fantastic.
Okay. What she just enters into the middle of all of her things with this. Is that part of her marketing? Where you start in the middle of the conversation, people are like, wow, I really wish I could see what she was saying before that. Maybe it's part of her, if I become a member of the channel, I get to see the entire interview.
All right, you guys. So there's a long backstory. We have so much we actually need to talk about, but I want to suspend that for a later episode.
Yes.
Because I actually contacted you weeks ago saying, Milo, I want to have you on. Wanted to go through the history. Yay. But for my audience, my newer audience, and these are people that are on the left, and now I think we're all kind of coming towards the middle and realize.
My new audience that's on the left, and we're all coming towards the middle. What she means is that she is farming from the anti-Semitic freak out on the far right and the far left. In theory, that's what she thinks is going on. I shit you not. That dude is still gay? I don't know. I think he's done with that whole thing. I think you guys are a bunch of doubters. I mean, look at how butch he is. What are you guys talking about? He's wearing sunglasses inside. That is not something gay people do. Sorry. Okay, here we go. He's not, yeah.
That everything is corrupt and fake and gay. I want to let them.
Jesus Christ. But enough about Milo. What?
No, you're actually kind of a piece of my backstory. I didn't know you, but when I was a liberal and on the left and found myself falling down the hole, meaning I realized actually I agree with conservatism and I kind of like Donald Trump and I was kind of scared to say that as a black person in America, I found your writings. You were a Breitbart and your writing was excellent and you were talking about the ills of modern feminism. You absolutely blew up. And I would say that you are...
Now, granted, I think I could solve this for Candace, if I may. I think this actually all boils down to the fact that she's a misogynist. Whether you call it, internalized misogyny or whatever, but she hates women. I think that's what this boils down to. The interview with Weinstein, what attracted her to Milo Yiannopoulos is a gay man talking about how women need to just shut the fuck up. That's what she was attracted to in this. The root of almost everything she does is anti-feminine, anti-woman.
Original MAGA, meaning I think of you, I think of Steve Bannon, I think of all of these people when the whole world was like, Donald Trump will never become president of the United States. You guys.
Yes, when people still had hope.
We didn't agree.
We did
and
not.
there were about 7
agree.
of us when the rest of the country was afraid even to admit who they were voting for.
Yeah. And who would you say were in that original MAGA group? I think of you and Steve Bannon.
Yeah, I think
and
Mike Cernovich would be an example.
Absolutely, Mike Cernovich.
I think that even Baked Alaska was there, up with us front row in some of the talks. My buddy Pete.
By the way, he has shifted his tone to appear less effeminate. There's clear action being taken to butchify his voice and appearance. Just so you know.
It's a party Ben, if people remember him from the if you were a little bit more online at that time.
You're definitely more online.
You know, really, it was a very small group. I would say Stefan Molyneux, who's just got back to Twitter, who's sort of I guess he's an online philosopher, I guess you would say.
Or a white supremacist, directly, like literally, would define himself as such.
You know, really, it was a very small group, and I got a compliment from somebody.
How do you get kicked out of a group that small?
In the campaign in 2016, that I think.
Oh, right, for being gay, essentially. Hey, all the other guys still around. You got kicked to the curb. One of these things is not like the other.
It's excessive. I don't think it's fair, but you know, he said, "Oh, you're one of the 7 people who put him in office." I said, "Come on, grow up." But what I think he was getting at was that at a time when even Americans were afraid to admit who they were voting for, although they did in huge numbers, there were, you know, 7 or 8 or 9 of us or whatever who were out there every day
vocally supporting
saying
him.
It's okay, even if you don't admit it to your wife, do it in the booth. And fortunately, we did persuade them, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, I was there when he came down the golden elevator that other people kind of saw in retrospect. And
Right, you do realize you're talking to Kansas, who thinks that Trump is owned by Israel and being controlled by them, and is more than likely not just a friend of Jeffrey Epstein's, but a participant in his child sex trafficking. She's this close to saying he slept with boys. You do know that, right? I'm just saying, before you start patting yourself on the back, right? Is this all Candace Day? No, it isn't. I don't really cover her shit hardly ever, but I just wanted to do these as a compare and contrast, because this is her idea of guests these days. A Harvey Weinstein, who she's trying to rehab, and an ex-gay maggot convert. No, it was always a maggot, but whatever. All right. I mean, honestly, I don't know if he's fallen in with her thing. Maybe they're talking online. Who cares?
I sort of, at that time, I was kind of, what is going on here? This is exciting. This is interesting. And then when he came out and said...
Why were you there? You were there when he came on the escalator. How did you get there?
I was invited by a friend
okay.
Who said, I think you're going to want to come along to this. Somebody who works in at a hedge fund. And at that time, you know...
Oh, that right. The hedge... Wait, sorry. What was it? How was she ate woman? I don't know. You would have to ask her. I'm just saying it seems to be the point. Trump... Sorry, he said... back that up again. Who invited you?
I think you're going to want to come along to this. Somebody who works in at a hedge fund.
Somebody who works at a hedge fund said, I think you're going to want to come along to this. Hold on. You don't say. Just a guy from a hedge fund that invited me? Really? You're just gonna bring up randomly that it was a hedge fund guy that you happen to be friends with? You're gonna bring that up now? I mean, you're obviously aware of what Trump has been saying. Trump deflects promises list of hedge fund guys who lived with Jeffrey Epstein. Uh-huh. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Sorry, Milo Yiannopoulos shows up with hedge fund guy. New detail. Good, okay.
Yeah, and at that time, you know, if you were sort of vaguely somehow connected to the Trump organization, or maybe whatever, people kind of had an idea that Trump was going to do something, right? Because he'd been trailing for many years that he was going to run for president, and people sort of, he's going to make an announcement.
Yeah, we don't care.
The manner in which we speak to each other over the kitchen table.
I think I was still very much asleep And you're correct. I remember Ann Coulter. She was someone who very early on supported Trump, and then she sort of said, "This
I
is
had
not
to
what
talk her
I."
into it.
You did, okay, yeah. She
and then
said
she
this
wrote
is not
two
what I
books about
wanted.
him, and then they had a meet. By all accounts, they had a meeting in the Oval Office that did not go well, and unfortunately, I don't think they got on particularly well, which is a real shame because I think Ann has a reasonable claim to having written the manifesto for his first victory, which is Adios America.
And what do you think changed when he got into office? Or I guess what were you disappointed in that first term?
We didn't see much of the campaigning Trump. We saw a lot of the old business as usual Republican Party.
Huh. And that wasn't a sign.
Tax cut bills passed and this and the other.
No, he's not blind. He's just full of shit. So.
And it didn't feel like what we were building up to. It was almost sort of, it was anticlimactic. It was...
Jesus Christ. A failure. It was a failure. That's what you are trying to say, you fucking wuss.
Almost...
It was always infrastructure week. Dude couldn't pass an infrastructure fucking bill. Say it. God damn.
So, we had this... I mean, I walked into the Trump Victory Party.
All right.
A poll that says that...
Get right away.
Talking a lot about campus rape culture and the gender pay gap. These are the sorts of things that people were talking about then. All of which had been exploded and exposed and discredited. But all those people still seem to remain in power. And all those institutions didn't seem to be losing very much by the fact of Trump being president. In fact, if anything, they seemed to be doing quite well fundraising while he was in. And he wasn't really stacking up the victories that we were expecting.
You don't consider how he handled COVID, just and the deal he made with the Chinese during that time? You don't consider that those weren't big wins to you? What about the VA Choice Act of 2014? Hold on. I want to jump ahead to where...
Treason.
Maybe it is.
This is the closest I've been to saying...
One that Trump rolled back and the one he didn't. He rolled back the Zionist virtue signaling, meaning, okay, fine, let's cut that bit out of the Homeland FEMA terms, which they then tried to pretend.
Let's actually show that. Let's actually, because they think we're this stupid again. He just thinks everybody's so dumb.
Unbelievable.
By the way, Trump thinks everyone's so dumb because they took out of the FEMA rules. There was a FEMA rule that his cabinet, whether it was Stephen Miller or somebody, put in a thing that we're not going to give FEMA funds if you're trying to, like, if you were BDSing Israel. And then they took it out because it's not really a fucking thing you can actually do. Like, if a campus does it or a fucking city does it, even if that's the case, it's not the fault of everyone else in it. You're still the government for everybody there, so you can't just deny them emergency shit. So it's fucking insane. And the fact that this is what they're picking up on, I just want to point out, that's what they're picking up on. That's what this bit is about, is that they remove the language that you can't, if you're into BDS, as far as Israel goes, we're not going to give you emergency funds, which would be illegal and it's stupid. So, like, it makes no fucking sense. And so what they're doing is they're trying to, like, say that he's controlled by Israel because he had that taken out. And this is, well, you'll see.
But they actually had the language on the DHS website where you were going to be denied the funds. And I'm just trying to see which line this is on. On the left-hand side, is that the Israel... Oh, here it is.
Yes, this is the part before with the language in it, and this is the language without, hence why the thing that had stuff cut out of it is smaller. Fuck me.
Yeah, it says, with companies doing business in or with Israel or authorized by, licensed by, or organized under the laws of Israel to do business. Discriminatory, prohibited. You can't boycott these companies. Then they just delete it. And they actually went on Twitter and tried to gaslight the public. It's gone full Zionist now. They're like, we had it on the website. We're going to disappear from the website. And then we're going to say, what are you guys talking about? We never had that language. The Homeland Security is now.
By the way, this is the, this is, I don't think the rule was enforceable. I just want to point out, like, how this is their fucking fixation. and this is her evidence that he is being controlled by Israel or whatever. Never mind the fact that a rule like this would be totally unconstitutional and illegal and stupid and weird. You know what I mean? Like, if you just decided you had a bone to pick with any political group and therefore you're going to deny emergency funds to a county or some shit, like, it's just fucking weird. And that if they only have companies in that area that service that area, if they have another policy outside for their foreign use, like the or their foreign interaction, you won't give them money, so fuck the people that are flood victims. Like, it's just so stupid. But interestingly enough, whatever gets them on the fucking off the Trump train, I kind of don't care, right? I'm not here to, like, you need a good reason to hate this motherfucker, like the fact that he was Jeffrey Epstein's fucking wingman, right? But if this is what does it, like, it literally is, could this possibly be the anti-Semitism silver lining? No. Like, just, if this makes them tell Trump to go fuck himself, whatever.
Now getting notes added on X for lying. Readers added context they thought you might like to know. This is misleading. DHS terms and conditions only now removed the section stating boycott means refusing to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations, specifically with Israeli companies. That was the language. They removed it, and the Homeland Security had the nerve to pretend that it wasn't there.
The nerve of these. Does Nick Fuentes like her? No. There's one particular trait, one particular element of Candace Owens that is, for the record, not optional, that Nick Fuentes, it seems, would not like. I'll leave it up to you.
That is extraordinary.
But that's the one that they rolled back, because that's the one that actually doesn't really matter. It's offensive, and it's if it had been carried through, and if it had been honored, and there had been a disaster, and a state hadn't been ready, and it was because of this, I think maybe you could say it's treason, bro. It just is. I think it's fair. I think it's fair.
The threat is treason. Even having the language on that website.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
I've been careful about this word because I didn't like it when it was floated all the time. This is treason.
Oh, by the way, she means having the threat of not giving money to the companies that, boycott, divest, and whatever, screw the, Israel or whatever. Having that language in there was treasonous, because it's too pro-Israel or something like that. Like, you're committing treason on behalf of Israel or whatever. Like, it's just illegal. Shut the fuck up.
It almost became comical.
I'm close.
Treason.
Maybe it is.
This is the closest I've been to saying, no, actually, if we're going to deny Americans in need supplies during a time of need, because they... Wait.
So... Can we take this clip and run it back to fucking during COVID or any time, like fucking California wildfires or any of this shit? Why the fuck do you not give a shit when Trump's like gonna deny states funds? Shit, North Carolina. Now you care because you don't care about the rest of these American states with Americans in them because it's not over fuck Israel? Is that the idea? You're fine with him just doing it on a whim. That's fucking amazing. You're okay with him doing it just because he doesn't like Democrats, but not because there was what was effectively a language in the bill that would be illegal, that would get beat in court and would get him in deep shit later. Fuck.
Are within their own free will deciding that
it's more than bad enough. It's more than bad enough, and I think it probably is that. But it doesn't actually matter because of course, it would matter to the lives if it happened. But it's based on the BDS thing. It's all virtue signaling, right? It's a leftist thing. And then if states are having sanctuary cities, something that
if it's just if it's just posturing, if it's just language, then why does it have to be in there? So you're justifying it, I guess.
You were elected to do, and you want to withhold funds. I wouldn't withhold disaster funds over that because that's mental. That's absolutely psychopathic. Just because somebody lives in a state that has sanctuary cities. I live in California.
Right.
What do you say? It was an earthquake. Let me plunge down a ravine.
Sorry.
Yeah, like that is psychopathic, and that's what we were hoping to defeat by keeping the drunk out. But and the last one. But the 2 female presidents stopped by Trump. You can't take that away from him. But
yeah, that's one of the things that this guy and Candace Owens both share. Both hate women, both into dudes. I guess is that what they share?
That is psychopathic enough. But that's the one. Ultimately, it's kind of virtue signaling in the gesture, you know. But the one he caved on was that. The one nobody has had a thing to say about was giving the nod to Israel to effectively move in and just take over and how recently it was.
Gaza, take over Gaza. Finish the fucking sentence, you pussy. God damn it. This is so aggravating. They all do it. They all run interference and they go, oh, this is going to get clipped. It's a boycott. Hold on. Yes, let's see if the BD. I'll show you the BDS website. You guys, here it is. Yeah, it's boycott, divestment, and sanctions. I'm gonna try. Where's their page? Here it is. There it is. Boycott, divestment, and sanction, which is what? God damn it! Let me drag the fucking page. There you go. This is an idea that people want to boycott, divest from, and sanction Israel specifically. BDS is aimed specifically at Israel on behalf of the Palestinians. That would be the idea. All right. Now, insofar as I know, they don't do this with anybody else, which is what makes me suspect. That BDS is an organization like, hey, maybe we should boycott and divest and sanction Russia as well, considering the number of dead involved in this current dust-up in Russia eclipses all the dead in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict since the fucking 50s, right? More dead human beings, men, women, and children, right? They're like, we got to get the fuck out of Russia. Nope. Same with most Middle Eastern countries. Nope. So that's why it gets struck as like anti-Semitic, because again, Sudan who?
Think how recently it was that Trump, irritated by disrespect and bad behavior from Netanyahu, was signaling when he was here that maybe America would have a presence in Gaza, that maybe they would.
Right, which is fucking nuts. No, we're not gonna fucking police Gaza, you psycho.
Be a Trump Tower in Gaza, not to.
Yeah, that's not an American presence. That's the opposite. That means all the Palestinians getting swept out of there. Because does anybody think that these two motherfuckers, being as close as they are, that this asshole builds a tower in fucking Gaza after the fact, as they turn into this thing, and it's not going to be a target for terrorism for the next 30 fucking years? Who the fuck would stay there? This dude.
To Netanyahu's visible displeasure and surprise, saying some of this stuff, right?
Right, because he didn't want him to say, like, dude, don't give away the game. But this is what we're talking. I talk about this shit in secret with Jared.
And how soon, how quickly?
Let's see. But how can you clarify your position on the Gaza situation as played out today? It is historic, and you spend very little time on it other than a casual, occasional needle drop. I'll tell you why. Because it is completely here. Let's clarify this. It is completely out of our hands. The vote was taken. I voted for the people who were for limiting, large munitions to Israel, pressuring them on them, giving them aid and that kind of stuff, and members of allegedly my own party and voters that are supposedly aligned with, the values and hope for a two-state solution and all that shit they've been crowing about forever, said, fuck it, I think Trump's better on this. It's out. That's out of our hands right now. And also, I would like to point out the fact that the two-state solution before 2005 and the two-state solution after 2005, written and designed on both sides by two different groups of people. And before 2005, the two-state solution was two democracies next to each other. Right? That one, a Palestinian state, but the Arabs and Jews and whoever else wants to live there, they would just live under the rule that the Palestinians would put together. They would vote on their own people, just like Israel would do. That was the two-state solution. And after 2005, Hamas taking over the second state, the Palestinian state they're talking about creating, was no Jews allowed. Which is not the two-state solution that I and other people have been clamoring for all this time. And I am not going to praise or seek a singular ethno-state, a new one being born on the Earth's surface. And ultimately, it's a matter of flapping at this point, because the very people who allegedly care the most about the plight of the Palestinian people fucked them the worst. Hashtag uncommitted, hashtag fucking, Genocide Joe. That whole crowd delivered the Palestinians into the hands of Netanyahu and Donald fucking Trump. So my effort is getting rid of this son of a bitch, and in the future, making sure it never happens again. I also, for the record, if I'm being accused of vote shaming, you goddamn right I am. Of course I'm vote shaming. Of course I'm blaming voters who didn't vote for Harris or who voted for Trump or voted for Jill Stein. Fuck them. Of course I'm saying that. And I'm never not going to say that. And anybody who plays ducks and drakes and fucking jacks with the lives of people like this, you deserve to be fucking shamed. Period. Forever and ever. The people who decided to choose more evil, that's who I blame. Because you and I can't grind this to a halt. If I had a lever on the wall that would stop this fight and create a two-state solution, I'd have thrown it a long fucking time ago. But every lever I threw was far too small. It was just my vote. And I could talk about who I think should be in office, and I could direct the populace this way, and I could chastise people and sheepdog them on my side and vilify and mock the people on the other side, because that's the limit of my capability in this very second. And I do it every fucking day. And I'm never going to back down about this. If you want somebody else to kowtow to this horse shit or tap dance around or blame centrists or the middle of the road stuff or it should have been all or nothing no. You don't get to make coin flip decisions over complex issues and pretend that'll fucking solve it, especially when you ultimately chose to put somebody in who said Trump Plaza Gaza. Please. Fucking please. So that's my feeling about it. I believe in the pre-2005 version of the two-state solution. Is that possible now? Who can say? But not in the short term, and certainly not while Donald Trump is in office, and not certainly if America is to have any impact on it until we have at least a 60-40 vote in the Senate and control of the House. And if anybody is fucking paring down Democrats, and again, this goes to my whole thing, one fucking job, DNC, red districts purple, purple districts blue. If you're trying to fucking move around the deck chairs on the Titanic, swapping out fucking a Dem who's more Dem the way you like your Dems, and wasting any effort, any of that shit, when we have we're this close that if the teeter in the House, we could have control of the House with like 5 fucking seats. If you're wasting any of your effort going, I don't think this guy's blue enough, fuck you. Stop now. That's why people are dying. That's why there is no two-state solution. That is why there will not be a two-state solution until that changes. Certainly not in terms, unless something magical happens over there that has nothing to do with us. But if America has a part in there being a two-state solution, it's because we have a fucking like 60-40 in the House and the Senate. And until you're willing to like pull the lever and make that happen and guarantee it or work towards it, I don't want anybody's judgment about my opinion or anybody else's about a both for or against about a situation that is completely out of our fucking hands right now because people gave it away. Seriously, it's fucking gross. And anybody who's even bitching about, can you believe what Netanyahu is doing? And of course I fucking can. He had a private meeting at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump before the election. They worked this shit out beforehand. It matters. People are dying that need not die. Because some people are like, I don't know. If you can't have all of it, we don't get, if we don't get everything, nobody gets anything. Fuck off. That's where I stand. What I would like to see, a two-state solution where there is a Palestinian state and an Israeli state, and both of them operate as democracies to the best of their ability or the desires of the voters there. But the idea that you're going to create an Arab ethno-state next to Israel out of spite at this point with Egyptians in Gaza and Jordanians in the West Bank and call it Palestine as the remnants of Hezbollah and the Houthis and Iran pump people in there and take out anybody who might want to make peace. It's fucking childish. And it's hateful. And it's gross. No. And I got news for you. There are a bunch of people who probably disagree with me vehemently on this. I don't care. I stand on how I feel. I stand on how I think. I believe this from an ethical point of view is the actual moral stance. And anybody who's selling utopia is getting fucking people killed. It's the same motherfuckers who voted against Democrats because the ACA wasn't universal health care. Meanwhile, 25 million people get more healthcare, and those people are alive now. Their children are alive now. Their children are healthier now because that exists, and you were willing to give that away because if we don't get everything, nobody gets anything. Then how are you any different than the Hamas using human shields or the Israelis going, I don't care about the civilians of Gaza. We've got to protect ourselves. Right? How are you any different? If you're willing to go, well, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, talking about 25 million people with, without health insurance. And you're like, Jill Stein. That's why. Fuck those people. Fuck that nonsense. Vote like a goddamn adult and build something. And one day, when we have a 60-vote majority in the House and the Senate, and we have the presidency, and everybody can go, look, people get it. Our ideas work, and they understand them. We have done our job. Then we can start flicking away the people that don't particularly play well and replace them with better team players. Then you can do that. But until then, shut the fuck up and understand that there is no gray area between us and Trump now. Other than that, I have no opinion. Okay, I'm done with the Candace and Milo stuff.